The Threshold Archives, Entry 1, The Whispering Frame. It started with a painting. Not an expensive one, not even a good one. Just something I found at a yard sale on the edge of town, half finished, like someone quit halfway through. It depicted a room with a crooked chair, a melted clock, and something dark lurking just outside a half-drawn curtain. But it wasn't until I hung it in my studio apartment that I noticed the frame, whispering. It wasn't clear at first, just a low thrum like wood expanding in heat. But by the second night, I was hearing actual words, garbled, fragmented phrases, and they all ended the same way. You've seen too much, you remember too well, you can't leave the frame. At first, I thought I was going mad, but then the painting began to change. The curtain shifted slightly each day, revealing more of what stood behind it. A silhouette, too tall, crooked elbows, no eyes. One night it stepped out of the frame. I moved, burned the painting, blocked every mirror in the house, but sometimes when the lights are off and my phone glitches out, I can still see it standing in the blank spaces, waiting. It doesn't whisper anymore. It just watches. And that's how I first heard about the Threshold Archives. A collection of stories, encounters, and forbidden artifacts that have crossed from our world into something else. And every time one is remembered, another doorway opens. The Threshold Archives, Entry 2. The House That Wrote Letters Back. I was going through my grandfather's things after his passing when I found them, stacked carefully in a fireproof box under the floorboards of his den. Letters. Hundreds of them, all written in his hand, and all addressed to a house. Not a person. A house. Dear 1231 Mayfield Lane, one began. Another, to the quiet windows on your second floor. And I'm sorry about the basement. I should have never locked it again. I thought he was losing it in his final years. Some poetic dementia. But then at the very bottom of the box there were replies, typed on yellowed paper. Short, cryptic responses, addressed to him but stamped only with a wax seal shaped like a keyhole. Things like, you left something in the East Wing. It's growing. The dining room forgives you. We still remember the seventh guest. I made the mistake of visiting the address. I shouldn't have. The house was waiting. Every window was already open, though no one lived there. The floors creaked like they were speaking. And on the dining room table, there was a note. You were expected. The room upstairs still remembers you. The conversation never ended. The next morning, I found a typed reply waiting in my apartment. My name, my address, my secrets. The house wrote back, and it still does. The Threshold Archives, Entry 3. The lake that took photographs. There's a lake a few hours from where I grew up, flat, mirror-like, tucked between two empty hills. No one swims there. It's not forbidden exactly, just avoided. The air around it feels colder than it should, even in August. We used to call it Flash Lake when we were kids. Legend was if you stood at the edge just before dawn and stared into the reflection, you'd see a quick white flash, like a camera, one bright blink, then it was gone. I thought it was just a trick of the eye, until last summer when my brother went missing. He'd become obsessed with the lake in recent months, kept saying it remembered things, that it saw, that it collected. I found notebooks under his bed filled with sketches of faces, always the same face, always screaming. He left one final note the day he disappeared. It finally developed the film. I went to the lake that night, watched the surface, waited, and just like that, a flash. It came from beneath the water. I saw my reflection, and behind it for a split second, a room, an old photo lab, a red light, shelves stacked with negatives, faces I recognized, people I knew, some who had died years ago, and one that looked like me, only older, wet, eyes wide, hands pressed to the other side of the glass. When I got home, my phone had a new photo in the gallery. I didn't take it. It was a grainy, black and white image of me, standing at the lake's edge, staring down. I moved 3 states away, but the photos keep coming, printed, developed, sometimes tucked inside my mailbox or slipped under my door. Always with that strange grain, always from the lake's angle. It's still watching, and whatever it is, it's getting clearer. The Threshold Archives, Entry 4. The vending machine in the hospital basement. It started with a crumpled receipt. My friend Toby works night security at a hospital slated for demolition. The place is mostly empty now, but a few wings still have power, mostly for storage and record keeping. He found the receipt folded neatly inside his locker. Item, 1 room 00 snack. Cost, dollars. Vended, 3:13 a.m. There's no room 00 in the hospital. There's no snack with that name. And most importantly, the vending machines don't print receipts. He showed it to me during our usual Friday poker night. We laughed, figured someone was screwing with him. Then he called me at 3:14 a.m. the next night, whispering. Shaky. He said he'd gone looking. There was a vending machine in the basement. One he swore wasn't there before. Old model, yellowed plastic, dustless, pristine. It only had one item, room 0. No picture, just that. The keypad didn't work until the clock struck exactly 3:13. Then it made a sound like clearing its throat. Clicked. Accepted his button press, dropped something heavy. He didn't open it, just took it and ran. When he got back to the security office, the machine was gone. Not moved, gone. He brought the package to my place. It was a vacuum-sealed bone-white cube, warm to the touch and humming quietly. We cut it open together. Inside was a rolled-up patient gown. Stiff, burnt, smelled like singed fabric and iron. In the pocket, a Polaroid. Blurry shot of a hospital room with no doors or windows and a person curled in a fetal position on the floor, wearing that exact gown. Toby hasn't come back to poker night. Last thing I heard, his apartment's electricity started flickering every night at 3:13 a.m. And someone keeps leaving vending receipts on his kitchen table. Same item, same time, each one darker than the last. Ready for entry? The room that wasn't in the lease. It was listed as a 1-bedroom. Cheap too, for downtown. A little too cheap. Maya took the place without even seeing it. Just a few blurry photos, a virtual signature, and a rush to move in before rent season flipped. The apartment was exactly what she expected. 1 bedroom, a narrow kitchen, a dated bathroom, and a strange layout that made the hallway feel longer than it should have been. But she only noticed the extra door after her second night there. It wasn't on the floor plan. It didn't show up in the photos. It was just there, at the end of the hall, plain and white, with no doorknob. She asked the landlord. They said they didn't know what she was talking about. 1 bedroom, 1 bath. You signed for 550 square feet. The maintenance guy wouldn't even look at her when she asked about it. But the door was real. She knocked. No sound, no echo, just that dead, soft thunk of something very thick behind it. That night she heard whispering. Not through the door, through the walls, like someone trying to breathe words through wallpaper. On the 3rd night, the door was open a crack. Inside was total darkness, even though the hallway light was shining straight in. She closed it, taped it shut, pushed a bookshelf in front of it. The whispering turned into mouthing, like something unseen was mimicking her voice, syllable by syllable from the other side of the drywall. By the end of the week, it wasn't just mimicry. It was prediction. It started saying things before she said them, then before she even thought them. That's when she tried to leave. But her key didn't work on the front door anymore. She called the landlord again, got a voicemail. The name on the lease? No record. Now she texts me once a day. Always the same sentence. Don't open the door, even if it opens itself. The messages are starting to come in before I think about texting her. I didn't tell her that, but today there's a white door in my hallway, no knob, and I don't even live in an apartment. The Threshold Archives, entry 6. I first saw him in the bathroom mirror at a roadside motel just outside Flagstaff. I'd barely gotten the room door shut behind me when I flicked on the light, and there he was, standing behind me in the reflection, maybe 6 or 7 years old, hair matted like he'd been in the rain, eyes far too large for his face. He didn't blink, just stood there, pale and still. I turned around. No one was there, just the stale motel air and a buzzing overhead bulb. I didn't sleep that night. The kid showed up again in the mirror above the sink, closer this time, just over my shoulder, staring into my eyes like he was looking through me. I smashed the mirror with the ice bucket. The glass splintered into 100 shards, and he was in every piece. I ran, booked another room 2 towns over. Clean place, new place. I didn't look at any reflections. Not the elevator doors, not the lobby windows, not my phone screen. I showered in the dark, But when I finally glanced at the bathroom mirror, just a split second to brush my teeth, he was there again. Only this time, he mouthed something. No sound, just a slow movement of lips. I left immediately, but it didn't stop. I stopped at a diner, checked my rearview mirror. He was in it, closer now. Still dripping, still staring, still mouthing. I took photos, called friends, tried showing people, but every time I flipped the phone around, the picture changed. He was never there when someone else looked, only me. Then the messages started. Smudged words in foggy glass, text notifications that never actually arrived. One voicemail, 3 seconds of static, and a whisper I felt in my teeth. Let me in. I smashed every mirror in my house, removed every reflective surface. But he's getting smarter. He found me in the surface of a soup spoon, a window at night, a puddle. I tried sleeping in the basement, lights off, zero reflection. But in the black of my TV screen, just before it powered down, his hand was touching mine. Last night, I woke up to a cold little finger resting on my wrist. I didn't look. I didn't need to. He's not just in the mirrors anymore, he's behind them. And he's learning how to get out. No one lives in house number 9. Haunted house, neighborhood legend, forbidden return. Everyone in my neighborhood knows not to talk about house number 9. It's been empty for decades. The windows are black. The grass never grows. And yet every Thursday morning, the garbage can is full. When I was a kid, my friend Jace dared me to touch the front door, said it was just an old house with bad wiring. I walked up the steps, knocked once, and something knocked back. We ran. 2 days later, Jace vanished. His bike was found in front of the house, upright, still spinning. Now, 30 years later, I drove past it again, and I swear I saw Jace standing in the window. Same clothes, same bike helmet, same look in his eyes. He looked older now, but only by 2 days. 2. The house that changed its address, untraceable house, shifting location, impossible return. I rented a small home on the edge of a quiet town, tucked into a cul-de-sac that didn't exist on any map. The landlord said it was temporary housing, cheap rent. No questions. Every night I heard voices beneath the floorboards. Not whispers, full conversations. They repeated in loops, always ending in a scream I never heard begin. I left after a week. When I tried to return with police, the house was gone. Lot was empty, no foundation, no records, no rental history. But a week later I found the same house in a completely different town. Same number, same red curtains, and someone new was living inside. They looked just like me. Sha3. The family that never left. New homeowners, trapped family, repeating hauntings. When we moved into the farmhouse, the seller warned us not to use the basement, said it was structurally unstable. We listened for the first month. Then we found the hatch under the rug. I opened it. At the bottom of the stairs were chairs, still warm, dinner plates, dustless shelves, and a mirror that didn't reflect us. It showed a family seated at the table. Our family. Same faces, but their mouths were sewn shut. When we backed away, they stood up, and one of them whispered, "Don't leave us here again." The hatch slammed shut. We've been trying to move ever since, but no one can find our address. Even on Google Earth, we're not there. 4. Room 0 doesn't exist, but I lived in it. Impossible floor plan, vanishing tenant, architectural horror. I was subletting a unit in a Victorian-style house with split rooms labeled A through G. The hallway ended in room 7. But on the third night, I found a door labeled Shh. It was never there before. I opened it. Inside, wallpapered walls, antique furniture, and the sound of breathing that didn't match mine. No windows. Just a bed that was already warm. Every time I closed my eyes in room 0, I saw my apartment's hallway. But the lights were off, and someone was always walking toward me. I tried to move out. My stuff was gone. Lease terminated. I checked the building layout. There's no room 0, but I still get mail addressed to it. #5. They keep moving back in. Previous family never left. Welcome notes from the dead. The house we bought was beautiful. High ceilings, big porch. Cheap because of an incident, the realtor said. We moved in anyway. The first week, I found a note under the fridge. "We don't mind sharing. Just don't open the attic." We thought it was a prank. Then came the footsteps. The dirty dishes left out. The second toothbrush in the bathroom that none of us used. We opened the attic on the 7th night, found 4 sets of clothing folded neatly, still warm, a mirror with no reflection, and a note pinned to the wall. We told you not to. Now we can't leave. Every time we walk out the front door, we wake up in bed again, and there's always one more plate set at the table. The house that buried itself. Living house, structural hunger, forgotten tenants. There was a property on the edge of the woods that only shows up after it rains. Locals call it the house that buried itself. People say it was built on cursed soil, that the foundation never dried, and the house kept sinking slowly over time, eating its own history. One day, it wasn't on the surface anymore. Then it came back, looking newer, more modern. Each time it rises, it wears a different era like a disguise. 1920s one year, brutalist concrete the next. They say if you step inside, you won't know what decade it is. And when you try to leave, the door just opens to more house. Deeper, older, hungrier. One man claimed he made it out. His hair turned white, his eyes wouldn't focus. When asked what he saw in the basement, he only said, rooms full of people who never realized they'd been eaten. Room that wasn't on the blueprint. Strange construction, extra room, something waiting inside. When we remodeled the old motel, I double-checked the blueprints. Every room accounted for, nothing strange. But when the workers broke through the east wall, they found another door. Room 301. There was no second floor. It was fully furnished. Lamps still plugged in, a cup of tea steaming, no dust, no signs of decay. A journal on the nightstand was dated 1958, and the last line read, "I hear them building me again." The workers quit. I tried to seal it up, but every week I find the door again, somewhere else, and the room is still warm. 2. The architect drew himself into the floor plan. Obsession, blueprints that evolve, self-erasing design. The man who designed our office building disappeared before it was finished. His blueprints stopped making sense. Doors that led to nowhere, staircases that looped. We laughed until we found the mirror hallway, 6th floor. Not on any diagram, it stretched forever, reflected into darkness. At the end, we saw a man standing still, looked like the architect, but older, pale, hands pressed to the glass, smiling. We blinked, and he was gone. The next day, the office layout had changed, and none of us remember the exit ever being that far away. 3. My apartment wasn't there yesterday. Shifting rooms, unseen tenants, apartment that appears overnight. I've lived on the 10th floor for 3 years, unit 1005. Last night, the elevator stopped at a floor I didn't recognize in half, just a single hallway, just one door. Apartment 1005B, and taped to it, a note with my name on it. We've been waiting for you. I ran. I told the doorman. He told me, that floor doesn't exist anymore. But every time I ride the elevator now, it stops there, and the note keeps changing. Last time it said, you already live here. Go check your lease. I did. It now reads, 1005B. 4. The house drew itself. Living sketch, blueprints come to life, recursive construction. I inherited a roll of architectural plans from my grandfather. Scribbled in red ink with no measurements, I unrolled them on my kitchen table. That night, my walls began to shift. The kitchen door moved 6 inches left. The hallway gained an extra turn. By the end of the week, I had rooms I didn't build. A staircase to nowhere. A door behind the fridge. One room was just a chair and a mirror. The chair faced the mirror, nothing else. Every morning, the blueprints are slightly longer, as if someone is still drawing, and I can't find my way to the front door anymore. 5. The forbidden level under the library. Academic horror, secret blueprints, floor that rewrites itself. I work maintenance at an old university library. The elevator has a button labeled B3. There's no basement 3. Press it anyway, and the elevator drops for far too long. When the doors open, it's not bookshelves, just one massive atrium. Walls lined with doors made of paper. The floor is soft. It shifts underfoot. There's no light source, but it's always dimly lit. One of the professors told me the building was designed by a man who believed architecture should trap ideas, make knowledge bleed. Now, when I walk the upper floors, I hear books whispering in voices that match mine, and I've forgotten what the main floor even looks like. This house was meant for something else. Blueprint mismatch, ritual house, rooms that serve a hidden purpose. We moved into a strange home in the woods. It was cheap but oddly shaped. Everything felt off-center. The rooms weren't square. The hallways were sloped. Every window faced another house that didn't exist. Then I found the original blueprints under the floorboards. but they weren't labeled living room or kitchen. They were labeled witness chamber, sacrifice hold, channel vein. There was a spiral drawn through the house, connecting every corner, and in the center, mouth. We tried to leave, but each door just opens deeper inside. And last night, the house sighed, like it was finally full. Let me know if you want a third set, rooms we weren't meant to find. Slow burn narration, whispered dread, architectural horror. Churn. The basement didn't used to be there. We never had a basement. We had a crawl space. We had blueprints. We had a level foundation. And yet, last Sunday, we found a door behind the dryer. Old wood, rusted handle, locked from the inside. It led down to a stone staircase. So old the walls sweated, so deep the light didn't reach the bottom. We turned back. But the next day, the stairs had changed. They were carpeted now, with framed pictures on the wall, family photos. Some of them weren't ours. 2. My bedroom window faces the wrong way, north. That's where my window has always faced, out toward the hill, away from the sun. But last week I opened it, and sunlight poured in. I looked out and saw the ocean. We live in Nebraska. Now, every night I hear the sound of waves crashing, and there's a breeze. But it smells wrong, salt and something sweet. I don't sleep there anymore, but the window still opens itself, and every morning, the bed is wet. 3. The attic has a light switch. There's no power running up there, just insulation, just beams, no wiring, no fixtures, but someone wired in a light switch. And when you flip it on, you hear something turn over, like a body shifting, and the light spills down from the cracks in the boards, but there's no bulb, and nothing ever casts a shadow. 4. I was hired to paint a room that disappeared. It was just a gig, an extra room the landlord said needed color. He handed me a key, told me it was on the 4th floor, only 3 floors in that building. But I found it, a hallway I'd never seen, a white door, no number, just a keyhole that was already warm. Inside, just one chair, one mirror, a perfect cube of space. I painted the walls red. The whole job took 2 hours, but when I came back the next day, the hallway was gone, and I can't find the bucket I used. 5. My friend moved into a house that was demolished in 1998. He showed me pictures. Nice place, yellow siding, porch swing, view of the woods. When I looked it up, the address was real, but the records said the place had burned down 27 years ago. Total loss, no survivors. When I confronted him, he smiled too wide, said, "Yeah, I know, that's why it was so cheap." I drove out there, found the plot, nothing but concrete, weeds, and a mailbox full of fresh mail. All of it addressed to him, from someone named the Upstairs Man. Shesh, there are 6. There's a door in our house we're not allowed to see. I live with 3 roommates, and we all agree there's a door at the end of the hall that we pretend isn't there. Not because we're scared, because something tells us not to look. We keep furniture in front of it, we vacuum around it, we talk around it. One day, someone wrote on it in red marker, "If you open this, don't blink." None of us admit to writing it, but it's always wet. And sometimes we hear someone breathing on the other side, syncing up with us, like it's trying to match our rhythm and get in sync, like it wants to. Open with us. Let me know if these rooms were never meant to be entered. Slow read horror, perfect for pacing and narration. 1. The bathroom mirror doesn't reflect the same room anymore. I was brushing my teeth when I realized my reflection was a few seconds behind. Then, one night, I saw a door behind me in the mirror. I turned. Nothing. But in the mirror, it opened. A hand reached out. It waved. Then it pointed. Now I keep the mirror covered, but I still hear the door creaking open on the other side of the glass. 2. The new closet leads to another house. We knocked out a wall during renovations. Behind it, a perfectly preserved walk-in closet, cedar-lined, clean, empty. But if you step inside, you feel a breeze. And if you walk far enough in, you come out somewhere else. A living room, abandoned, silent, still warm. We found mail there, addressed to someone with my name, different handwriting, same birthday, and there's always music playing, but it sounds like it's from under the floor. 3. The house next door wasn't there yesterday. We live in a cul-de-sac, only 5 houses. We know everyone, but this morning a 6th house stood at the end of the street. Big, black, windowless. No one saw it move in, No trucks, no lights, no welcome sign. By noon, someone went to knock. They haven't come back. By evening, the house was closer. Not bigger, closer, as if the cul-de-sac bent inward. Tonight, it has a porch light on, and the front door is open. 4. The staircase goes one step too far. I counted every time. 13 steps to the second floor. Same every day, but 2 nights ago, there was a 14th step. I stepped on it. Felt like ice. Felt like falling. But I didn't fall, I just stood somewhere else. The hallway didn't end, the doors had no knobs, and something was breathing deep in the walls. I ran back down, but now, every night, that step returns, and now it's warm. 5. The house hums when we try to leave. It started small. We'd pack our things, try to leave for a weekend, but keys would vanish. The front door would jam. Once, the tires on the car turned to ash. Then the hum began. Low, distant, like something turning over underground. Now, when we plan a trip, the hallway stretches, the closets lock, and the mirrors fog up with words we never wrote. The last one said, "You are the house now." Narch 6. The ceiling fan points at me. It's mounted wrong. It doesn't spin normally. It turns like it's watching, lose movement. The pull cord is gone. The switch doesn't work. But every night it begins to turn. Slowly at first, then faster, then suddenly completely still whenever I look at it. I woke up once with the fan still spinning, and all my furniture was turned to face the ceiling. Even the bed. Even me. Tawa? 1. The man who eats time. They say there's a man who walks the empty highways just before dawn, carrying a broken watch in his hand. No one knows where he comes from. Only that, if you see him once, you'll see him again. Always closer. Always at the edge of memory. He doesn't speak. He just stands there with a crooked grin and a twitch in his neck, like his body's remembering how to move. People say he steals time from those who look too long. Your clock starts running weird after that. Hours vanish. Days loop. You'll wake up with bruises on your hands and soil in your teeth. A friend of mine, Eli, swore he saw the man on Route 90. Said he blinked and the guy was 10 feet closer. Blinked again and the man was at his window. Next thing he remembers, he was driving 80 through a cornfield with his headlights off and the radio hissing static. He lost 3 weeks. No one believed him until the photos showed up. Printed, not digital. Left on his porch, each one a still frame of him, watching himself sleep, and in every frame, at the edge of the room, was the man with the broken watch, smiling. The wallpaper room. When we moved into the house, there was a door on the second floor that didn't open. It wasn't locked. There was no knob, just a faded frame sealed shut and covered in peeling yellow wallpaper. My dad said to ignore it, but I swear I heard things behind it. Breathing, shifting, like someone was pressing their ear against the other side. At night, the wallpaper bubbled out. It pulsed like something inside was pushing to get free. I told my mom. She laughed. Said it was probably just the house settling. So I stayed up one night, sat across from the door with a flashlight and a hammer. At 2:14 a.m., I heard scratching. Soft, rhythmic. I hit the wall. It hit back. Harder. The wallpaper peeled by itself, revealing something written beneath in red, letters scrawled over each other hundreds of times. Let me finish being you. I ran. The next morning, the door was gone, and there was wallpaper on my bedroom ceiling. It was pulsing. Waiting.
Sure.
3. They come for the mirrors. There's a town in northern Maine where no one owns a mirror. Every reflective surface is either shattered, burned, or buried in deep concrete slabs. The locals say mirrors invite them. No one will say who they are. But one night, passing through, I stayed at a roadside inn with a cracked mirror in the bathroom. I didn't think twice. Until 3:33 a.m., I was brushing my teeth when I noticed something off. My reflection blinked before I did. Then it smiled. I didn't. It stepped backward, deeper into the mirror, and something else stepped forward. Something taller, thinner. Its eyes were wet and black. I turned around, but the bathroom was empty. When I turned back, the mirror was gone. Just drywall where it used to be. And behind me, faint and breathless, a whisper. Your reflection got out. 4. The 4th bell. There's a town rule in Heron's Hollow. Never stay out past the 3rd bell. The 1st bell rings at sundown. The 2nd an hour later. The 3rd just before midnight. No one talks about the fourth, but it rings. I heard it once. I was staying with my cousin. We were drunk, laughing, thought the curfew was superstition. We stayed out. Midnight came. The third bell rang. Everything stopped, even the wind. And then, deep beneath the earth, something else rang. A fourth bell. Low. Distant. My cousin stopped laughing. He started convulsing. He looked at me, mouth open, eyes wide, and his face began to slide off his skull like melted wax. Hands came out of the shadows, dozens of them. They took him, dragged him through the cracks in the road. I ran. They left me. But the next night, the bells rang again. And there were 4. 5. I listened to the tape that was never recorded. There's an old research facility near Cold Pine Ridge that was abandoned in the 80s after some kind of audio experiment went wrong. The official story was structural instability, but locals say the ground around it still hums if you stand still. I found a tape there, unlabeled, still warm, like it had just been used. When I played it, nothing happened at first, just static. Then a voice. It sounded like me, but it said things I'd never said, talked about memories I don't have, places I've never been. I tried to stop it, but the player wouldn't shut off. The voice on the tape began screaming, and then it started describing what I was wearing, what I was doing, what I was thinking. It whispered my thoughts before I could form them. The tape ended with one final sentence. Now that you've heard me, I'll never stop listening. The player hasn't stopped humming since, even without a tape inside.